I used to think getting older meant my hair had to get smaller, flatter, and quieter, like it was supposed to apologize for still being there. Nobody tells you that. Today I'm breaking down 3 haircuts that stylists are quietly recommending to women over 70 right now, because they do something most cuts at this age don't. They actually add life back into thinning, fine, or silver hair instead of fighting against it. I researched the best haircuts and beauty fixes for women over 70, so you get real results without wasting money on a cut that doesn't work for your hair's actual texture at this stage. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. I cover this every single week. Part 1. The soft pixie that adds back what gravity took. Here's something most women don't hear until it's too late. After 70, hair doesn't just thin, it also changes direction. The follicles that used to grow straight up at the crown start growing sideways, which is why so many women describe their hair as just lying there, no matter how much product they use. Diane noticed it first in photographs. Every picture from the last 2 years showed the same flat crown, the same hair pressed close to her scalp like it had given up. She wasn't imagining it, and she wasn't doing anything wrong with her routine. The problem was structural, not cosmetic, and no amount of volumizing mousse was ever going to fix a cut that wasn't built for what her hair was actually doing now. The fix her stylist gave her wasn't a shorter cut for the sake of being shorter. It was a soft, textured pixie with graduated layers cut specifically at the crown, angled against the direction the hair was now growing. "We're not fighting your hair," her stylist told her. "We're cutting with where it's actually going, not where it used to go." That distinction changes everything about how the cut behaves day to day. A pixie cut for thinning hair over 70 isn't about going short and hoping for the best. It's about removing weight from the exact spot where hair has stopped standing up on its own, so the remaining hair has nothing left pulling it down. The technical part matters here, so let's actually walk through it. The layers aren't cut evenly across the whole head. That's the mistake a lot of stylists make with older, finer hair. And it's why so many pixies on fine hair still look flat within a week. Instead, the shortest layers are concentrated directly at the crown, sometimes as short as an inch, while the sides and nape are left slightly longer to frame the jaw and soften the transition. This creates what stylists call engineered lift. The hair at the crown is now short enough and light enough to stand up under its own weight, without a single drop of extra product. Diane's stylist finished the cut with a slight point cutting technique at the ends, which removes the blunt, heavy line that makes fine hair look thin instead of textured. Here's the part that actually made Diane emotional, and she told me this herself. It wasn't the volume. It was that people started making eye contact with her differently. When hair sits flat and heavy around an older face, it pulls the eye downward and adds visual weight to the whole lower half of the face. When the crown lifts, the eye naturally goes up and toward the eyes first, not the jaw or the neck. That's not a styling trick, that's basic facial proportion. And it's the actual mechanism behind why a well-cut pixie reads as more alert, more present, more her, rather than just shorter. There's also a maintenance truth nobody mentions in the flashy before and after posts. A structured pixie like this needs a trim every 6 to 8 weeks, not because the length grows out dramatically, but because the layering that creates the lift softens and drops as new growth comes in underneath it. Skip the trim window and the exact volume you loved starts quietly disappearing, week by week, until you're back to flat and wondering what changed. Diane sets a standing appointment now. She told me it's the one beauty routine she never let slide, because she finally understands what's actually holding the shape up. Before, Diane's crown sat flat against her scalp no matter what she did to it. After the crown-focused pixie with point-cut ends, that same spot holds visible lift with zero styling effort. And her whole face reads brighter because of it. And that flat crown problem isn't the only place gravity works against older hair. There's a second spot most women never think to blame, and it's usually hiding in plain sight, right at the part. Part 2. The shoulder-length shag that softens everything at once. If the pixie feels too dramatic a jump, there's a second cut solving a completely different problem, and it starts with something Marguerite said to me that I haven't been able to shake. She said her hair had started to look correct, instead of alive, every strand in place, nothing moving, nothing catching the light, just a neat helmet shape sitting on her head. She wasn't wrong to notice it. Longer, one-length haircuts on fine, silver hair after 70 tend to compress under their own weight, And once hair compresses, it stops reflecting light the way it used to, which is a huge part of why hair can look dull, even when it's perfectly clean and healthy. The fix here is a long shag, not the choppy, heavy 70s version, but a modern, softened shag cut in layers that start around the cheekbone and build gradually down to shoulder length. This isn't a trend cut borrowed from a 25-year-old's Pinterest board. On finer, silver hair specifically, this layering does something almost nobody explains clearly. It breaks up the single heavy mass of hair into smaller sections that move independently, and independently moving hair catches light from multiple angles instead of one flat sheet reflecting light from just the surface. That's the entire secret behind why shag-cut silver hair photographs so much better than a blunt one-length cut at the same length. Let's get specific about where the layers go, because placement is everything with this cut. The shortest face framing pieces land right around the cheekbone, angled slightly forward rather than straight down. This is what softens the lower face and jawline without anyone consciously clocking why it looks softer. From there, the layers build in gradual stages down to the shoulder, never in one dramatic jump, which is what keeps the cut from reading choppy or unfinished on finer hair. Marguerite's stylist also thinned the underlayer slightly with a texturizing technique, removing bulk from underneath while keeping the visible top layer full. This is the trick that gives movement without sacrificing the appearance of density, which matters enormously once hair has naturally thinned with age. Here's the result Marguerite didn't expect. People stopped asking if she was tired. That sounds like a small thing until you understand why it was happening in the first place. Flat, compressed hair with no movement near the face reads as heaviness, and heaviness near the eyes and cheeks reads, subconsciously, as fatigue. The moment her stylist introduced movement at exactly those points, that red disappeared. Not because her face changed, but because the hair around it stopped pulling everything downward. She told me 3 separate people asked what she'd done that week, and the honest answer was nothing except a haircut. The upkeep on a shag is genuinely easier than most women expect, which is part of why it works so well at this stage. Because the layers are already broken up and textured, this cut air dries into shape far more forgivingly than a blunt cut, which shows every flaw the moment it's not perfectly styled. A light finishing cream scrunched through damp hair, and the layers do most of the work themselves. It needs a trim roughly every 8 to 10 weeks to keep the face framing pieces from growing out into the eyes, but outside of that window, it's one of the lowest maintenance cuts on this list for the amount of visual change it delivers. Before, Marguerite's hair sat as one flat, compressed length with no separation near her face. After the layered shag with forward-angled face framing pieces, that same hair moves in distinct sections and catches light the moment she turns her head. But there's a third cut on this list that solves a problem neither of these first 2 touch. What happens when the hair itself isn't thin, but the ends have simply stopped looking finished? Part 3. The curtain fringe that resets the whole face. Rosalind almost said no to this one, and I understand why. Fringe, at any age, feels like a commitment, but especially past 70, there's a real fear that it'll read as trying too hard, or worse, that it'll age her rather than soften her. That fear is common, and it's also based on the wrong version of fringe. The blunt, straight-across bang most women picture is genuinely a risky choice on older skin, because a hard horizontal line draws attention straight to forehead lines and creates a stark contrast that can look severe rather than flattering. That's not the fringe we're talking about here. A curtain fringe is a completely different shape. It's parted in the center and swept to either side, blending directly into the rest of the hair rather than sitting as a separate blunt block. On Rosalind, her stylist cut the fringe long enough to graze just past the cheekbone on each side, which meant it could be swept back entirely on days she wanted it out of her face, or worn forward for a completely different look. This single detail, length past the cheekbone rather than blunt and short, is the difference between a fringe that ages someone and a fringe that genuinely resets how young the whole face reads, because it softens the forehead with movement instead of a hard line. The cutting technique itself matters just as much as the length decision. Rather than a single straight cut across, Rosalind's stylist used a point cutting technique down the length of the fringe pieces, creating soft, feathered ends instead of one hard edge. This is what allows the fringe to blend into the rest of the hair at the temples, rather than looking like a separate piece that was added on. It also means the fringe moves naturally with the rest of her hair when she turns her head. rather than sitting stiff and static the way a heavier, blunt fringe often does on finer, silver strands. Here's the actual mechanism behind why this works so well on mature faces specifically. As skin loses some of its former structure, the forehead and temple area can start to look slightly wider and flatter in photographs. A center-parted curtain fringe interrupts that flat plane with soft, angled movement on both sides, which visually narrows and softens the whole upper face. Rosalind's stylist called it putting the frame back around the picture. The fringe doesn't hide anything, it just gives the eyes somewhere to land first, the same way the right glasses frame draws attention to the eyes instead of the forehead. Rosalind told me the first time she saw herself styled, she genuinely didn't recognize the shape of her own face for a second, in the best possible way. Styling this fringe daily takes under 2 minutes, which surprised Rosalind more than anything else about the cut. A round brush and a blow dryer on a warm, not hot, setting, brushing each side outward and slightly back, is really all it takes to set the shape for the day. On humid days, or days she skips styling entirely, the length past the cheekbone means it still falls reasonably into place on its own, which isn't true of shorter, blunter fringe styles that need daily maintenance to avoid looking flat or awkward. Trims land every 4 to 6 weeks specifically for the fringe pieces, even if the rest of the cut goes longer between visits, because fringe length is the one place where an extra ½ inch changes the entire effect. Before, Rosalind's forehead sat fully exposed with no framing, which made the upper half of her face look wider and flatter in photos. After the long, feathered curtain fringe swept past the cheekbone, that same forehead is softened by movement on both sides, and her whole face reads narrower and more open at once. All 3 cuts are genuinely transformative on their own. But there's one styling secret that determines whether any of them actually hold their shape past day 1. And almost nobody over 70 is doing it. Part 4. The overnight habit that protects all 3 cuts. Here's something that stopped me in my tracks the first time a stylist explained it to me. The single biggest reason a great haircut stops looking great within a few weeks has almost nothing to do with the cut itself. It's what happens to the hair overnight, every single night, while nobody's paying attention. Colette had all 3 problems solved. Flat crown handled, movement built in, fringe framing her face beautifully, and within a month she felt like the shape was quietly falling apart again. She assumed she needed another trim. Her stylist asked her one question first. What was she sleeping on? The answer was a standard cotton pillowcase, the same one she'd used for decades. Cotton fibers are rough at a microscopic level, and every time hair moves across cotton during sleep, especially fine, silver, or thinning hair that's more fragile to begin with, it creates friction that roughens the hair's outer layer, called the cuticle. A roughened cuticle doesn't lie flat, which means it doesn't reflect light the way smooth hair does. And it also means hair tangles more overnight, which stresses the very layers and face framing pieces that took a skilled stylist an hour to shape correctly. Colette wasn't losing her cut to time. She was losing it to friction every single night, one pillowcase at a time. The fix is genuinely simple, and it costs less than a single salon visit. Switching to a silk or satin pillowcase reduces that friction dramatically, because the fibers are smooth rather than rough, which means hair glides across the surface instead of catching and roughening as it moves. Colette's stylist also recommended a loose, low pineapple style gather at the crown before bed for anyone with layered or textured cuts specifically, using nothing tighter than a soft scrunchie, positioned high and loose enough that it doesn't create a crease or flatten the crown volume that Diane's Pixie or Marguerite shag depends on. The goal isn't to compress the hair overnight, it's to simply keep it from being dragged around the pillow for 8 hours. Here's what changed for Colette within 2 weeks of switching. The face framing pieces near her temples stopped looking frizzy and separated by morning, which meant she stopped needing to restyle before leaving the house most days. Her stylist explained that this single habit adds real time between salon visits too, because hair that isn't being roughened nightly holds its shape and its color tone longer, which matters enormously for silver and gray hair specifically, since friction damage can make cool-toned gray read brassier and duller over time. Colette told me she genuinely didn't believe a pillowcase could matter that much until she saw the difference in her own bathroom mirror 2 weeks in. There's a second half to this habit that most people skip, and it's just as important. Sleeping with hair completely dry, rather than damp, matters more after 70 than it did decades earlier, because hair is at its most fragile and stretchable when wet, and any friction against a pillow while damp causes far more breakage than the same friction on dry hair. Colette now finishes any evening wash at least 2 hours before bed, giving her hair time to fully air dry before she gathers it loosely for sleep. It's a small scheduling shift, but paired with the silk pillowcase, it's the reason all 3 of these cuts are still holding their exact shape for her, cut after cut, month after month. Before, Colette woke up most mornings to flattened crown volume and frizzy, separated face framing pieces from a full night on cotton. After switching to a silk pillowcase with dry hair loosely gathered, she wakes with the same shape she left the salon with, night after night. 3 cuts, 1 small nightly habit, and suddenly a great haircut isn't something that fades in 3 weeks, it's something that actually lasts. So now you know the 3 cuts actually worth asking for after 70. The crown-focused pixie that gives gravity nothing to fight, the layered shag that puts movement back into flat, compressed hair, and the long curtain fringe that reframes the whole face without saying a word about it. Plus the 1 nightly habit that keeps any of them from fading in a month. That's not luck. That's just understanding what your hair is actually doing at this stage, instead of fighting it. Which one of these 3 cuts do you think would work best on you? And have you tried any of them already? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. Next week I'm breaking down the exact salon phrases to use so your stylist gives you precisely the shape you're picturing, not their guess at it. Like this video, subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path, and I'll see you in the next one.